No one is talking about this, and yet it might just be one of the biggest breaking stories in both fashion and music culture this year. Nelly, yes, the rap icon himself, has just teased something that could shake up not only the entertainment world, but also the entire fashion scene. During a recent conversation, Nelly casually dropped a bombshell. His wife, Ashanti, is working on a future collaboration with none other than Apple Bottoms. And his words were short, but powerful. You gotta wait for that one. Now, wait a second. Before you think this is just another celebrity collab, let's rewind the clock. Apple Bottoms isn't just any brand. If you lived through the early 2000s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This was the brand that had women everywhere lining up for those iconic jeans that hugged the body in all the right ways. A brand so influential that it literally shaped hip-hop and R&B fashion at its peak. So the fact that Nelly is teasing Ashanti stepping into this legacy? Oh, we need to unpack this in full. But let's start with the facts. Apple Bottoms relaunched not too long ago, and fans were already buzzing. And while the brand has worked with rapper Latto for one of its campaigns, making headlines with a new generation of fans, it's the mention of Ashanti that just set the internet on fire. Why? Because Ashanti isn't just another influencer or celebrity. She's a living icon, a woman who represents not only R&B royalty, but also longevity, beauty, and cultural relevance. Here's where things get interesting. Apple Bottoms isn't just a brand to Nelly. It's his brand. He launched it back in 2003 when the idea of jeans designed to celebrate women with curves was groundbreaking. At a time when the fashion industry ignored those body types, Nelly made sure women who looked like the ones he grew up admiring were front and center. And it worked, massively. Apple Bottoms wasn't just a fashion line. It was a cultural movement, with songs, music videos, and celebrity endorsements making it larger than life. But like many trends, Apple Bottoms eventually faded from the mainstream. By the late 2010s, you didn't see much of it, and some even thought it was gone forever. That's why its recent relaunch was already huge news. The brand tapped into nostalgia, while rappers like Latto brought a fresh Gen Z twist. But here's the twist of all twists. Ashanti stepping in means this is no longer just about a revival. It's about legacy meeting legacy. The queen of R&B joining forces with the brand built by her husband? That's not just fashion. That's family business, and it's history in the making. And don't forget, Nelly didn't just mention it lightly. He teased it with that sly smile, the kind of smirk that says, "Y'all have no idea what's coming," which means this isn't just a random collab. This could be major. Could Ashanti design her own Apple Bottoms line? Could she become the face of the brand in 2025, reintroducing it to a whole new generation while reminding older fans of its glory days? The possibilities are endless, and fans are already speculating nonstop online. What makes this even juicier is the timing. Ashanti is in the middle of her biggest era in years, as a wife, as a new mom, and as a performer whose live shows are getting rave reviews again. Imagine her balancing music, motherhood, and then stepping into fashion on such a large scale. This isn't just a collaboration, it could be the moment that redefines Ashanti's legacy beyond music. And let's not overlook the drama. Whenever Apple Bottoms is mentioned, the conversation gets heated. Some fans are excited for the comeback, while others wonder if it can truly compete in today's saturated market of Fashion Nova, Skims, and Shein. Add Ashanti's name to the mix and you've got a debate ready to explode. Can the brand not only return but thrive again? Can it stand tall in a world where social media dominates fashion trends at lightning speed? This breaking news is already sparking conversations, and trust me, we're just scratching the surface. Because the story of Apple Bottoms is filled with highs, lows, comebacks, and now, the potential of Ashanti stepping in. Stick with me because in the next section, we're going deeper into the brand's history, from the glamorous rise to its sudden fall, and why this comeback could be different. When Apple Bottoms first hit the scene in 2003, it wasn't just another clothing line, it was a revolution. At the time, the fashion industry was heavily focused on skinny, straight silhouettes, often excluding women with curves. Then came Nelly, fresh off his chart-topping hits, who boldly declared that women of all shapes deserved jeans that celebrated their bodies. His vision? A line of denim that embraced curves rather than hiding them. And just like that, Apple Bottoms was born. The brand exploded almost overnight. Hip-hop, R&B, and mainstream culture embraced Apple Bottoms with open arms. Nelly himself rapped about it. And soon, every club anthem and music video featured women rocking those signature jeans. It wasn't just fashion, it was empowerment. Apple Bottoms gave women permission to feel sexy, bold, and unapologetic about their shape in an era when mainstream fashion wasn't catering to them. By the mid-2000s, Apple Bottoms had become more than a brand. It was a status symbol. Celebrities like Oprah, Alicia Keys, and even Vivica A. Fox were spotted in Apple Bottoms, helping cement its influence. Billboard campaigns, glossy magazine spreads, and even a line of fragrances made it clear. Apple Bottoms was here to stay. It wasn't just jeans, it was a lifestyle. But with meteoric rises often come sudden falls. By the early 2010s, fashion trends shifted drastically. Slimmer fits, minimalist styles, and new competitors began dominating the market. Brands like Apple Bottoms, which had thrived on a certain aesthetic, suddenly felt dated. Stores stopped stocking the jeans, and slowly, the brand faded into the background. For many, Apple Bottoms became a nostalgic memory, something you saw in old music videos or in your mom's closet, but not in everyday fashion. And yet, nostalgia is powerful. The early 2000s aesthetic has been making a comeback in recent years, from low-rise jeans to velour tracksuits. So when Apple Bottoms announced its relaunch, fans of a certain age immediately lit up. Social media was flooded with people reminiscing about their first pair of Apple Bottoms or how badly they wanted them back in high school. It was proof that the brand had left a permanent mark. That's when Latto entered the picture. The Grammy-winning rapper became one of the first major faces of Apple Bottoms since its relaunch. Her campaign brought a fresh energy to the brand, bridging the gap between nostalgia and modern-day appeal. For Gen Z fans who never experienced Apple Bottoms in its prime, Latto gave them an entry point. For older fans, it was a reminder of the brand's glory days. It was a smart move. But here's where things get even more interesting. While Latto made waves with her campaign, it's Ashanti's rumored collaboration that could elevate Apple Bottoms from nostalgia trip to full-blown empire. Why? Because Ashanti isn't just relevant, she's timeless. She represents the era when Apple Bottoms first dominated, but unlike many, she has stayed culturally significant. Fans who grew up with Ashanti are now mothers, professionals, leaders, and they have buying power. That's what makes this rumored collab so dangerous to the competition. And don't forget, this isn't just about fashion. This is about a husband and wife empire. Nelly built Apple Bottoms. Now, years later, his wife Ashanti may be stepping into the brand as its new face, or even as a designer. Think about the symbolism: a love story, a business partnership, and a cultural comeback all wrapped into one. If marketed right, this could put Apple Bottoms at the center of not just fashion but entertainment headlines everywhere. But with opportunity comes risk. Critics are already questioning whether Apple Bottoms can survive in today's fast fashion landscape, where brands like Fashion Nova pump out trendy jeans overnight. Can Apple Bottoms compete with that speed and affordability? And more importantly, will Ashanti's involvement be enough to not just bring back old fans, but win over a whole new generation? These are the questions swirling online right now. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Because as we peel back the layers, we're about to discover why Ashanti's rumored collaboration might be the secret weapon Apple Bottoms needs to not only return but dominate again. Ashanti's name alone carries weight. For over 2 decades, she has been one of R&B's most beloved voices, a Grammy-winning singer whose influence has touched both music and culture. But Ashanti isn't just about music, she's about image, legacy, and style. And that's exactly why the whispers of her Apple Bottoms collaboration feel so explosive. Let's be real, Ashanti has always embodied the Apple Bottoms aesthetic, even before the brand existed. Her confidence, her curves, her stage presence, All of it aligned perfectly with the ethos Nelly introduced back in 2003. Fans still remember her early 2000s looks: the low-rise jeans, the crop tops, the hoop earrings. She wasn't just part of the era, she defined it. And now, 2 decades later, she's poised to help bring it back. When Nelly teased the collaboration, fans immediately pointed out the poetry in it all. Apple Bottoms was Nelly's brainchild, and Ashanti was one of the women whose career soared during the brand's prime. Now, as husband and wife, they're standing together at the intersection of love, music, and business. It's a storyline almost too perfect for Hollywood. A full-circle moment that merges their personal and professional lives in ways fans can't stop talking about. But let's think strategically. Ashanti's involvement isn't just symbolic, it's practical. She appeals to multiple generations at once. Millennials who grew up blasting Foolish and Always on Time will feel the nostalgia pull. Gen Z, who now worships Y2K fashion aesthetics, will see her as a timeless queen effortlessly blending old-school vibes with modern relevance. Even Gen Xers, who've watched her career evolve, respect her as an icon who stayed authentic. Fashion insiders are already predicting that Ashanti could elevate Apple Bottoms in ways that Latto alone could not. While Latto connects with today's youth, Ashanti brings credibility, legacy, and maturity. Together, the two women, representing different eras, could make Apple Bottoms a multi-generational powerhouse brand. Think of it as bridging the gap between past and future. But here's where the drama heats up. Some fans are already speculating. Will Ashanti design her own signature line within Apple Bottoms? Could we see a limited edition Ashanti collection? Jeans, jackets, or even stagewear inspired by her iconic looks? Imagine Ashanti walking out on stage in 2025 wearing Apple Bottoms she helped design. The internet would break. And it's not just about fashion shows or ad campaigns. Ashanti is a performer at heart. Her live performances have been stronger than ever, especially since becoming a wife and mom. Fans have noticed the confidence, the glow, the growth. If she incorporates Apple Bottoms into her concerts, tours, or even music videos, the brand instantly reaches millions of eyes, not just in fashion spaces, but in global entertainment. But let's not ignore the skeptics. Some argue that Ashanti is too established, too classy, to align with a brand often remembered as flashy and trend-driven. They ask, does this dilute her image? Could this collab pull her into nostalgia territory instead of pushing her forward? Those are valid concerns, but if executed right, this could prove the opposite. It could show that Ashanti can dominate in multiple arenas at once: music, fashion, family, and business. The stakes are high, but the potential payoff? Even higher. This isn't just about Ashanti attaching her name to Apple Bottoms. It's about reintroducing a brand to the world through the lens of someone who represents beauty, power, and timelessness. And fans are hungry for it. Social media has already exploded with mock-up edits of Ashanti and Apple Bottoms campaigns, proving just how ready the public is for this new era. So now the question becomes, what exactly is Ashanti planning? Will it be a clothing line, a campaign, or something even bigger? Because if Nelly's smirk was any indication, we're in for a rollout that's going to shake the fashion world to its core. And in the next section, we're diving into the bigger picture. What this move means not just for Ashanti, but for Apple Bottoms' survival in a brutally competitive fashion market. Fashion is a battlefield. Trends rise, fall, and disappear faster than a viral TikTok dance. So the question becomes, can Apple Bottoms survive in today's hyper-competitive landscape? And more importantly, will Ashanti's rumored collaboration be the secret weapon to secure its spot in 2025 and beyond? Let's face the facts. When Apple Bottoms launched in the early 2000s, it had very little competition in the hip-hop lifestyle brand space. Baby Phat, Rocawear, Sean John, those were the peers. But today, the arena is flooded with streetwear giants, luxury collabs, and fast fashion powerhouses that can churn out new collections almost overnight. Brands like Fashion Nova, Pretty Little Thing, and Shane dominate online, while Balenciaga and Off-White blur the lines between high fashion and streetwear. Apple Bottoms doesn't just need a comeback, it needs a revolution, That's where Ashanti enters as the game changer. Think about it. Apple bottoms could have stayed in the nostalgia bubble. It could have re-released old styles, capitalized on Y2K trends, and faded out once the hype cycle passed. But with Ashanti, there's a chance to tell a new story. She represents more than nostalgia. She represents evolution, growth, longevity, the very things Apple bottoms will need if it wants to compete with today's fashion titans. Here's the twist. Apple bottoms has an advantage most people overlook. It's not just a brand, it's a cultural memory. Those 4 words, apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur, are embedded into pop culture forever. No matter how many years pass, people remember the song, the look, the vibe. That's free marketing most brands could only dream of. The challenge? Turning that memory into modern relevance. This is where strategy becomes everything. If Apple bottoms tries too hard to mimic Fashion Nova or Shine, it'll get lost in the noise. But if it leans into authenticity, if it embraces its roots in hip-hop, in Black culture, in curves, in confidence, it could carve out a lane no one else can fill. And with Ashanti as the face of that authenticity, the possibilities are endless. But let's not sugarcoat it. Failure is very possible. Fans have seen countless nostalgia comebacks flop. Remember when Juicy Couture tried to relaunch? Or when Ed Hardy attempted a revival? The buzz faded quickly because they didn't evolve, they just recycled. If Apple bottoms makes the same mistake, even Ashanti's star power won't save it. Now here's where it gets juicy. Insiders are whispering that Nelly and Ashanti aren't just thinking about jeans and tops. They're thinking bigger. Expansion into activewear. Capsule collections tied to music festivals. Even tech collabs where fashion meets lifestyle products. Imagine apple bottoms sneakers that sync with your playlist or denim designed with eco-friendly fabrics for a new generation. The whispers alone have fans buzzing. But here's the cliffhanger. Ashanti isn't the only factor in play. Latto, who's already done campaigns with apple bottoms since its relaunch, brings a different energy. She's raw, modern, bold. A direct connection to today's hip-hop audience. Pair her with Ashanti, who brings heritage, grace, and credibility. And suddenly Apple bottoms has a dynamic duo. Old school meets new school. The baton being passed but also held together. And let's not ignore Nelly himself. He's the original visionary, and fans are waiting to see how hands-on he'll be with this new chapter. Will he step back and let the women lead? Or will he return to the spotlight as the ultimate brand architect? That decision could change everything about how the public perceives the relaunch. So, with high risk and even higher stakes, Apple bottoms sits at a crossroads. Will Ashanti's collaboration prove to be the spark that redefines the brand? Or will it become another what could have been in fashion history? The answers are starting to take shape. But in Batch 5, we're going to piece it all together and reveal why this might be the most important move Nelly and Ashanti make in 2025. So here we are, the final chapter in this unfolding story. Apple bottoms, once a cultural giant, now sits on the edge of what could either be its greatest comeback or its most heartbreaking flop. And at the center of it all, Nelly, Ashanti, and a vision that just might reshape the fashion world in 2025. Let's start with Ashanti, because her role cannot be overstated. She isn't just modeling for a campaign. She's stepping into the brand as a symbol of what it means to thrive, to evolve, and to still remain relevant in a constantly shifting industry. Her words, her presence, her story, all of it adds layers to apple bottoms that no influencer or fast fashion brand could ever buy. She's not just selling jeans, she's selling a lifestyle, a comeback story, a celebration of resilience. But it's not only about Ashanti, it's about what this collaboration represents. It's about women reclaiming space in an industry that often sidelines them once they've passed a certain age or phase in their career. It's about Black love and Black entrepreneurship, standing proudly in a market that often erases the pioneers who built it. And it's about legacy, because make no mistake, if Apple Bottoms succeeds in this new chapter, it will be remembered as the comeback of the decade. Now let's talk strategy. Imagine the rollout. Ashanti debuts her collaboration with a visual campaign that nods to the original Y2K apple bottoms aesthetic. Low-rise jeans, bold logos, unapologetic curves, but with a modern twist. Sleek tailoring, sustainable fabrics, luxury elements mixed with streetwear edge. Pair that with Latto's fresh energy, and suddenly you've got a campaign that speaks to both millennials who lived through the first wave and Gen Z who are rediscovering it for the first time. And here's the genius: music. Nelly has already teased apple bottoms in his songs, and Flo Rida cemented it in pop culture history. But imagine a new anthem. A track featuring Nelly, Ashanti, maybe even Latto, dropped alongside the campaign. A song that instantly trends on TikTok, bringing millions of eyes to the relaunch. That's not just marketing, that's cultural domination. But here's where the stakes get real. If this fails, it won't just be a brand that stumbles, it will be a blow to Nelly's legacy, a hit to Ashanti's image. Fans will say the comeback was all hype, no substance. And in today's ruthless social media climate, second chances are rare. That's why every detail, from fabric choice to ad campaign, has to be flawless. And yet, maybe that's exactly what makes this so exciting. Apple Bottoms isn't just selling clothes anymore. It's selling hope. The hope that what's meant for you will always find its way back. The hope that love, culture, and authenticity can still win in a world dominated by algorithms and fast fashion. And most importantly, the hope that a brand that once made people feel seen can do it all over again. So what happens next? We wait. We watch. We listen for that official announcement Nelly teased when he said, "You gotta wait for that one." Because if Ashanti's collaboration drops the way insiders believe it won't just be a fashion launch, it will be a cultural reset. And here's the final cliffhanger. What if this isn't just about jeans, or clothes, or music? What if this is about building an empire? What if Nelly and Ashanti, as Mr. and Mrs. Haynes, are laying the foundation for a lifestyle brand that could rival Fenty or Yeezy? Could apple bottoms be the beginning of something bigger than we ever imagined? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. This isn't just fashion news. This is history in the making. So keep your eyes open, because when Ashanti's Apple Bottoms collaboration finally hits, the world won't just be watching, they'll be wearing it.